The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah! Go Cowboys!
This is Cowboys StoryLine with Nick Eatman.
What is up? And it's time for Cowboys Storyline. I am Nick Eatman. It is Tuesday, April the 2nd. We are moving right along here in 2024, already into April. And it is time to talk some more Cowboys football. Turn the mic over to you guys. Let you guys weigh in on what's going on, what's not going on. Talk about the rest of free agency. We got the draft now this month. We can say that now. It's this month, and April 25th. So still a few weeks away, but never too early to talk about it. Not only that, do have the new Star magazine for the draft preview just came out, draft guide for 2024. So a lot of hard work put in on that. You can order that online. We're still trying to figure out the details of that, but it'll be very soon. You'll see some links where you can order that online. You can get a copy, or you can get the digital version as well. All right, 888-855-2297 is the number to call. You can text at 817-290-3298. I'll try to get to some text today. Kind of been going calls only, so we'll see if we can do a little bit of both today. But we'll start with the calls like we always do. Michael is in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Michael, what's up? You starting us off?
Well, I want to give a shout-out to a caller from, I think it was last week or week before, guy from Kentucky.
Yeah.
And you asked him how his bracket was. He said he's a Tar Heel fan. I'm a Tar Heel fan. He said he was originally from North Carolina, and so am I. So I was like, nice. I hope we get some more Kentucky callers.
Okay. Yeah, I know. We don't have a lot of Kentucky callers, and I thought when you're there, I mean, it's probably Kentucky or Louisville. But no, there's some Tar Heel fans in there. But none of those fan bases are that excited about March Madness. So.
No.
All right. So what do you got, man?
Okay. All right, you got Zeke, there is some chatter about, and Dalvin Cook. Who would you take and why? If it was an opportunity for either one of them.
Well, while I'm coming up with my answer, how about I ask you? Who'd you taking?
I would take Zeke and then try and get maybe in the later rounds, get another running back, and then kind of have like you had with Pollard, the whole thunder and lightning, basically, from what they had said, get down towards near the goal line and, feed it to Zeke. I mean, that's what I would do.
I would probably lean towards Zeke as well. That's probably what I would do. Now, one thing I don't think I agree with you on is the later round for the running back. I'm not saying first round. I don't know if there is one, but I need to get me a back that I think can be here. Now, I'm not saying later round backs don't work out, because we all see that they can. But I think it's a little bit more of a priority, because right now it's only Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn and Snoop Connor and Malik Davis. That's the running backs on the roster. So I'm going a little bit earlier than later round, knowing that if you get a Dalvin Cook or a Zeke or anybody, it's probably not for more than a year. So a little bit more of a priority for me. But, yeah, I mean, good thinking.
I wouldn't do round 1, 2, or 3 for a running back. I think you got to do a defense. You got to get somebody else in there. You lost Hankins. Yeah. You got to get an offensive lineman and maybe a linebacker. I mean, that might be your 1, 2, and 3.
Well, just don't forget though, as it stands currently, if you don't go 1, 2, or 3, you don't pick again until the 5th round. As it currently stands, they don't have a 4th.
Yeah.
So again, you're getting kind of dicey. I don't know if I pigeonhole myself into anything. Just kind of see how it goes. I don't know how their board ranks on what running backs they have, but to me it needs to be a little bit of a priority. But if it's not, then load up on your guards and your centers and your tackles, and just give yourself the best offensive line you can possibly have, and then me or you can run through the line if we need to.
I got one more quick thing. I was kind of down when they said they were going to do the UFL kickoff thing. But then I heard, because, how Avery kicked it through the end zone, but then I heard Bones Fossil was one of the main proponents or main guys who wanted it. So I figured he's got some stuff for it.
Oh, yeah, he's got some stuff. Yep.
I can't wait.
You're right about that. He definitely has some stuff. I think it's going to be a real exciting thing. It's not going to change the game that much, but it will be different. It'll be some different strategy. One thing to throw in, and thanks for the call, Michael. Appreciate that. Thank you. We'll keep this thing moving. One thing to remember about this is the practice time that has to be allocated now to this. I mean, before it was kind of, I'm not saying it was ever a throwaway part. Special teams is not a throwaway part, but you allot so much time. Well, now, I mean, it's a completely new thing. It's different things. There's probably some plays you can kind of draw up or different types of schemes. I'm not saying they didn't do that before, because there is different alignments. It was never just kick the ball deep, but I think it's going to be a little bit more of a play that has to just be practiced on both sides of the return and obviously the kickoff. But it'll be exciting for sure. It'll be exciting to see what happens when you get these guys in the open field and also what type of player. I think the guys like C.J. Goodwins of the world. Some really good Nashawn Wright. Think about him. Nashawn Wright, you kind of forget about him a little bit. He's very tall. He takes up a lot of space quickly. He can get some ground there. He might be one of your guys that you really want to focus in on running down on these kickoffs, making sure that you stop these guys before it gets too far down the field and maybe a big play. So going to be a lot of fun to see how that play opens up. All right, let's go to Jeff in Salt Lake City.
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I just got a couple questions for you, and then I want to end with a player. So I do a lot of field work out here at work, so I listen to a lot of your guys' podcasts on the network. And listening to Broadus a little bit, talk about the running scheme from last year, I wanted your opinion on, do you think it was more scheme-based with the changes from Joe Philbin to Solari and the running back coach from Skip Pete to Blasco? Mm-hmm. Or do you think it was more the runner, Tony Pollard coming back off that injury? What's your opinion on that? And then I have an outside the box question. Okay. Since it is draft season, I'd like to know or see if you have any knowledge of Will McClay's ascent. Because I believe in the early 2000s, wasn't he the head coach of the Desperados?
He sure was.
And then did he work like in pro personnel on the side of doing that gig?
I believe so. Yes, that was part of it. He was part of the staff, part of the, he was a scout as well when he had the time to do that. So yeah, he was part of the Cowboys organization as a scout, and then also did that. So yeah, he stayed in there and did both.
Okay, because I know in 2014 is when he kind of started to take over the draft. So I was just wondering if there was somebody within the organization at that time that was kind of grooming him for the pseudo GM role. And then last thing, Nick, I just wanted to know if you have any stories. I know you started in 98 of like maybe Demetrius Underwood, Alonzo Spellman in that 2000 season. Two interesting fellas. Just wondering if you have any stories on them. And I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah, well, thanks for the call. There's some interesting stories about those two. Let's start off with the scheme part. My thought is it's always a little bit of everything. It's never like one thing. So what was the deal? Was it the switch to Pollard? Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think Pollard, just look at his size. I mean, he can't do it like every single play. Less is more for him. And it was very evident, that's just not his role. And it's not just the one thing they always say, look how many carries he had. Okay, let's say he was averaging, 12 carries, 12 touches a game, and now he's got 15. Is that much of a difference? Well, it's not so much that. It's also getting blitz pickup and the collisions. And so who cares about the touches? It's how many times are you getting hit by a linebacker, And that's why I always think pitch count in baseball is weird. You got a pitch count to see how tired your arm is. But When they throw it over to first and try to pick off someone, that's taking up the same amount of, wear and tear on your arm, but it doesn't count to the pitch count. Never understood that. It's the same with, like, touches. How many times are you getting hit in the middle of a game? And sometimes hit by 2 or 3 guys on one play. I think that weighed some of it in. I don't think they have enough push in the center, at the center position, and even in the guards, the interior just does not push the pile as much. So you can call that scheme. You can call that a little bit of everything. It's all got to get fixed, in my opinion. And then your Will McClay, I mean, I don't know if one person was grooming. He was just, just like with anything, you get in the room and you kind of know who figures it out and who's good at what they do. I mean, he was always been, very, very smart, but also gets along with everyone. If you know Will McClay, he's your friend. I mean, he really is. He's not, he's a business. He's got a business approach to everything, but at the same time, he just knows how to deal with people. And sometimes in a room like that, you got to deal with that. Just as a coach, he has to deal with assistant coaches and egos and all players and all that stuff. It's no different than in this position with scouts and all that. And I think Will just does a great job of doing that. He's a great leader. And it doesn't matter if you're a coach or you're leading your scouting department or whatever. It was very easy to figure that out. And of course, this is just something that just kept going, and now he's got the position that he's in. And I think he's done an outstanding job. Spellman and Underwood, both those guys, out of respect to them, I mean, I think they had some off the field issues, and the Cowboys, that was the time where they were bringing in these guys to see if they could get things turned around in their life, and if so, then they could be a great football player. And it just didn't work. I'd rather not talk about like stories about those guys. There's some that were they had some scary incidents here with them. But hopefully they're doing good. I don't know much about what's happened with them post Cowboys, but I just know it was an experiment for both of them to see if they could be really resurrect their career, and it didn't really work out. All right, let's go to the text line here. We've got this is Dan in Philly. He says, how do you feel about Zeke Cowboys reunion talk? Be okay on a friendly deal, about $2 million with some incentives to reach for. That might even be a little too expensive, but you're along the line, so that's it. Zeke would be a good short yardage back in carries, pass protection, and also a great locker room veteran present. Also think they need a young bell cow in the second or third round. I agree with all that. Past Cowboy Robert Newhouse. I love Robert Newhouse. I miss him. He's no longer with us, and he passed away a few years ago. I can't remember exactly when, but he was worked for the Cowboys, and he actually worked in that player programs department with Calvin Hill, with the guys that you just mentioned, with Underwood and Spellman and all that. But Newhouse, here's what I love about Robert Newhouse. Think about this. In 1983, I believe was his 10th or 11th year in the league, okay? They had at running back Dorsett, they had Timmy Newsome, they had Ron Springs, but yet he's on the team as a fullback and all that. 11th year, and there was a game against the Giants. He runs down on a kickoff. This is Bill Bates' rookie year. Knocks a guy, fumble. The guy picks it up. Michael Downs picks it up, scores a touchdown. Just think about that in today's game. The 11th year fullback, which wouldn't even exist. You wouldn't be in the league in your 11th year. And if you are, you're not running down on kickoffs, being the first one down there to make the tackle, make the play, and create a turnover for a touchdown. How selfless is that? And that's the way Newhouse was. He was outstanding. He was a really, really good football player. And I know this is cliche, but we say it all the time. Better person for sure, Robert Newhouse. All right, let's go to the calls. Brian in Kansas City.
Good afternoon, Mr. Eatman.
How are you?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
Good.
Hey, right on, man. Hey, I got a question for you, and then want to give you guys a compliment. I got to watch something on the app today.
Okay.
And then I got a memory for you.
All right.
So my question is, looking at the upcoming draft, we haven't done a ton in free agency. We all know that. But we brought back J. Lou, and we got Kendricks. So we really have three positions that are, we're kind of like, okay, who's playing center and left tackle and one tech, right? So
and running back.
Right. Well, it's hard to say. I don't know enough about any of those guys. Like, they're all kind of been role players their whole careers.
Right.
So it's hard to say if one of them could do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, so let's throw that in, seeing as you brought it up, let's throw that in and say there's four positions where you're like, oh, hell, who's the starter?
Right.
So if you think you could get two starters out of the draft, keeping in mind that, hey, these are rookies. They're coming in fresh,
right.
No experience. What two positions would you want to say, okay, I can fill this one and this one in the draft?
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
And then the compliment is I got to watch the 2005 Deep Blue class on the 2005. What? I totally forgot about what kind of crazy draft that was. But that just gave me hope. Like, hey, we could end up with Chris Canty in the 7th round.
Yeah. Ratliff in the 7th, Canty in the 4th. You're right.
Yeah, Canty in the 4th, Ratliff in the 7th. And I'm like, but you look at that class, you're like, well, holy cow, that was like pushing the restart button for that team. They got so many starters.
They did. Yeah. And the thing about that, Brian, is that when I was I was the writer for that documentary, and I'm very excited about how that turned out, and we're hoping, fingers crossed, that it will get an Emmy nomination for that. But the thing about those guys is that when talking to them all, they all said the same thing, that every one of them that was picked, even the guys you don't even remember, every person in that class was a captain on their football team that year or the year before. They were all captains. Is that a coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. But it was that type of guys, leadership type guys, that could come in and handle the load of the pressure of turning things around quickly. And so I thought that was an interesting footnote.
Yeah, I don't remember if that was in there. I guess I missed it. I was sitting in a waiting room, so I probably missed just little tiny bits and pieces, trying to pay attention to see if I was being called or anything.
Right.
But, hey, and then my question is, I thought rather than give you a player this time, I had a question for you that just a curiosity question, man. So, and I don't care if you were an intern or an official employee, what was it like for you as whichever category you were in the first time it happened, when you walked in as a member of the Dallas Cowboys team into Texas Stadium? And I'll hang up and listen, man. Have a good one.
All right, thank you for the call on that one. Give me a second on that one and process. But all right, go back to your first part. I thought it was very interesting. Four positions that there's some uncertainty with a starter right now: center, left tackle, defensive tackle, or nose tackle, and running back. If you had to say that I'm going to get two from the draft as starters, one of them would be running back for me. And then it really comes down to, like, what do you have that you can kind of figure? I would say left tackle and running back. I would say if I could get those two, and I knew they were starters and they were good, that means you're going to get some pretty good players. I don't love the idea, but I think you have to see if a Hoffman or a TJ Bass can figure it out at center. I mean, perhaps. And then defensive tackle, you need help there too. But you did draft the position in the first round last year, and Mazi Smith, he's coming off shoulder surgery, didn't have a good year at all. But you got to hope that you can develop a first-round pick. That would be my hope there. So I would say center. I would say running back and left tackle if you had to just pick that could get two out of the draft there. I don't remember if there is a story for me like that of just coming into Texas Stadium. Because my first year was 99. I was an intern in training camp in 98 and covered some, but not 99 was my first year. So the first game of 99, the thing about those is that you remember them, but the first time you walk in is a preseason game. And if you've ever been to a preseason game at Texas Stadium, there's only one thing that you're thinking about is, can everyone see me sweat? Is the sweat going to actually drip to the ground? That's how hot it is. So you're all dressed up, because it's game day, and you're like, this is ridiculous, and it's unbelievably hot. So if I do remember it, the heat like warped my brain, and I really don't. The first game of of '99 season, of course, was at Washington, and then the first home game was like, it might have been Atlanta, I think, or it was either Atlanta or Arizona or something like that. Is that right? I remember Greg Ellis scored.
It was Atlanta.
Atlanta, Monday night. I remember that game. They beat Atlanta 24-7.
It was 24/7.
Yeah, that's what I think about the Cowboys, Chris. 24/7, and Greg Ellis scored that game, and then the next week against Arizona, he also scored another touchdown. So it was like, it was like Deron Bland out there. He was like scoring touchdowns every week.
Do you know the score of that game?
Oh man, it's 35-7, something like that. I don't know
35-7.
about that. You want to keep going? What we got after that? Oh, I can tell you the next two scores are the same. The next two scores are 13-10.
Yep.
13-10 against the Eagles. That was the game that Irvin got hurt. 13-10 against the Giants. Tiki Barber, some rookie named Tiki Barber, or the kick return for a touchdown.
Unbelievable.
So yeah. After that, I don't remember. I mean, it was a seesaw year that year. They went 8-8. So, you're 2-3, 3-3. I mean, they went back and forth all year.
Probably one of the earliest buys I've ever seen.
Was it that early? It's probably right then, right?
No, buy was the third week of the season.
Oh, okay. That's right.
So
That's right. They were undefeated for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. Interesting year. All right. Good stuff. Man, I asked Chris. I said, we need some text line questions.
I helped you out on
and
that.
He definitely did. Of course, it's all over my screen. I can't even see here. All right,
You
here
want
we
the
go.
next caller?
No, let's go with one more here. This is more about Zeke. So this is Anthony from New Jersey. Hope all's well. I just tuned in. Not sure if it's been covered, and it has. It's been covered, but I'd like to see the Cowboys bring back Zeke, as some reports are out there. I think it'll help goal line. Obviously, very solid with pass protection, pairing with the draft pick and Rico for depth. I feel better about the position. I agree. I'd feel better about it too. I'd feel better about that. And as I said in a mailbag question this morning, not that this is the reason to do anything, but, I don't know if Stephon Gilmore is getting re-signed. So there's your 21. I mean, it's back if you want it. I think it will be, but they would get it done either way if that's the route that they want to go. It has nothing to do with jerseys, but I just think maybe it's a good fit. I think it would be a good fit for what they need. They need depth. They need somebody in that room right now. And I don't know this answer, but your carries right now, if they had the running back room, your carries in the NFL would probably be less than 100. I don't really know how many Rico Dowdle has, but Lipke's only had a few. Deuce Vaughn's had just a couple. Snoop Connor, Malik Davis. I mean, that they don't have anybody that's had some significant playing time. So and that matters. I mean, you're looking around and you're like, I remember that time that you. Well, how about when no? Well, no one's played, and so you kind of need some of that a little bit, I think. And I think Zeke is at a point in his career. He did it with Pollard. I think he would be really good at it, but he's got to be able to still push the pile and get those tough yards. I think he showed some glimpses of that in New England as well. So yeah, I wouldn't hate the idea. And this isn't. I mean, I hate to call Zeke this because his career has been so much better than this, but it would be a Band-Aid type move at this point, to just put him here and it's good, and I think it would be fine, but you got to get more than that. All right, let's go to Ali in Florida.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Pretty good, sir. How are you? Good.
I'm good. Yeah. Now you asked me last week. You said you had a question. You said name 3 players that were drafted or signed in free agency that went on to win Super Bowls. I think we named a few. Did we miss any obvious ones, though? I think maybe Martellus Bennett.
Yeah, it was. I counted. It's like 11 of them.
Okay, you got them?
Is that Anthony Hitchens, Martellus Bennett, Chris Candy, Danny Amendola, He signed
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
a free agent.
Counts.
Then Ken Norton, you had. I didn't want to include Ken Norton since he wasn't part of when you started. Then DeMarcus Ware up naturally, but some of them they won 2-3 Super Bowl. You know.
Yeah.
It's just like so. What I got for you, I've got a question for you, since you're so smart, and then I have an opinion and I have a guy movie.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Okay. Question. When all said and done, chances are we're going to lose 5 or 6 starters.
Yeah.
So do you think if the Cowboys organization, people say free agent, sign here first week or whatever. If we signed a free agent before the draft, do we lose compensatory pick, or we should wait until after the draft so we don't lose it? I'm not sure because I know.
Hold on.
Let
me just say this. This has nothing to do with this year's draft. It's all next year's draft.
Right, of course. That's what I'm talking about. So when we signed Hankin and some of the free agents, we lost a couple compensatory picks because of them.
Yeah.
So if we lose him, we're going to have a 5 or at least maybe 4 or 5 compensatory pick for next year. So maybe Cowboys thinking, we are not signing nobody. They know what they have.
Yeah.
And then I figured probably they wait after the draft. I thought the question is, after the draft, do they count also the same or no? They can sign afterward and they don't have to give up the compensatory pick.
Comp picks. I'll write this down. Let's keep moving here.
Okay.
I'll answer that
and
when we.
Then the second thing, the opinion, I thought the most crucial decision made by Cowboys last year, because we were so close. I think Bobby Wagner, they tried to sign him as a free agent. I don't know, the money wasn't there, but he had a great year for Seattle.
Yeah.
And then if Mazi Smith as a first-round draft pick, it would have held up to his promise. We would have, he would replace Hankin during the season and Bobby Wagner. I think we would knock in at least the conference. And I think if they signed Zeke, that shows they let him go 1 year too early. And the movie for you,
Yeah.
The Gladiator. I watched it 5 or 6 times.
All right. Sounds good.
That's what I have.
All right, Ali.
Thank you, buddy.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Bye.
Never seen The Gladiator. I don't even know who's
What?
in it. No. Is it Russell Crowe?
Yes.
Is it? Okay. I don't know. I've never seen it.
When you get you that,
Okay. I'm sure it's great.
it is great.
All those movies kind of just Troy and all that. I don't know. They just kind of blend together. I apologize. I haven't seen that. It sounds like a guy movie for sure. All right. Comp picks. I was a little confused with what you were saying, because every free agent that you lose, and there's a formula that goes into this. It's how much you lost for, how much you lost and what they signed for versus, and then also how they play. So it's this big formula, and then also what you bring in and what you paid for and all that. And that all gets determined for next year's draft, so 2025. So this is all about next year. It doesn't really matter if you sign them right now before the draft, whatever. It's just the free agents that you sign. But remember this. It has to be a free agent, an unrestricted free agent. The Cowboys have not signed an unrestricted free agent this year. They have not. Kendricks is not one. He got released. If Gallup signs with someone, which I don't believe he has, he wouldn't be an unrestricted free agent. He wouldn't be somebody like you cut him. But they have lost Hankins, Pollard, Armstrong, Fowler, Gallimore, Igbenogany. I think I'm missing somebody, another one. But they've obviously lost some key players there. The max you can only get is 4 comp picks a year, unless you lost a general manager, you lost somebody as a general manager or something like that. But for the most part, for players, it's just 4. So that's probably the max. And I think the Cowboys have a shot to get 4 next year. All right, let's go to some more questions here. I got text questions here. Justin from Iowa, have you seen Mazi recently? I wonder if he's getting stronger and putting the weight back on. Remember, he had shoulder surgery, so I don't know. I don't know what it's like for the weight right now with him and what Zimmer wants to do with him. But first things first, he's got to get better from that surgery right there. And then Kyle from East Brunswick, New Jersey. Why won't Jerry Jones just name Will McClay the GM? We all know he's the one mainly pulling the strings. I don't know about who's pulling what strings and all that. I think Will has a very, very loud voice in the room, for sure. But if you already know it, then what's the point? I think that's what Jerry thinks is, if you knew that, I think Will's got a great gig right now. I mean, I think he's getting paid like a GM, I would imagine, and I think he's got an excellent gig because he's, whatever the role is, we all know he gets a lot of credit. I don't hear a lot of blame going to him when it doesn't work out. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, assuming that the money is good. If he just wants the title, fine. I don't think that stuff matters to him. Remember, it's a different situation for him. He's got a son who's 18 years old, I believe, or is a senior year for him, and lives here in Dallas, and so he even said that he's made a commitment to him, and who knows what it looks like in the future. But I know that Will's been compensated, I think, very well, and he gets a lot of the credit. I don't think there's a reason to kind of mess it up. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you know that, if you think that from New Jersey, if that's what you think, then what would be the difference? What would be the difference if he had the title or not? I don't know if there would be one. All right, let's go to Jeff in North Carolina. Is that he next? Jeff?
No, Dylan.
Dylan, I'm sorry. Missed Dylan. Dylan, Northport, Florida. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Get any hardware recently? Any
I did.
Trophies? What's going
I did.
on
I tagged you on Twitter. I don't know if you saw it or not.
I saw it. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So just to share that, Dylan took it a step further.
Share with the class,
yeah,
Dylan.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, all StoryLine team. I'm just trying to get some people some T-shirts, but this guy goes out and his wife gets you a trophy. I mean, we're talking like, I don't know if like NFL Player of the Year gets a trophy like this. I mean, this is pretty nice.
Yeah, it was a good gift. I guess my wife loves me, so I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky guy.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty awesome. So don't get you a T-shirt if that's what we do, or still go ahead and get you a shirt?
Now that T-shirt would get hung up right behind me, right next to the award, man. You go ahead and give me a T-shirt, too. I'll take it.
All right. We're working on that right now. But I thought that was really cool. That was a pretty neat thing. So good stuff.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you guys putting this together and everything. So It's such a cool experience. I mean, it's cool being a fan and all that, but like this is like a whole nother level, man. It's a community that you've built, and we appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you guys giving you guys a voice, and it's been really fun to see that and hear that because, like I say all the time, you guys have excellent opinions and excellent insight. And it just blows me away. This is my job. This is what I have to do, kind of know what's going on. You guys have other jobs, I would imagine, and you still make the time for this, still make the time to know the ins and outs of what this is and that. I mean, I think it's amazing. So really impressive.
All right, so I'll just get in my questions here for you. I think I'll ask these questions and then hang up and listen. You mentioned last week that the fan base was split on Dak the same way it is it was for Romo.
Yeah.
But I think now that Romo's gone and retired, I see so much more positivity around Romo's career and looking back. I don't see a lot of negative things about him these days. So I was wondering, do you think when Dak leaves, whether it's next year or years from now, do you think that the fan base 5 years, 10 years from now might look back on Dak and be like, he wasn't that bad. Maybe I was wrong, or maybe it could have worked better. I don't know. Something I was thinking about. It's kind of a recency bias thing, I think, a lot of times,
That's a very good point. Yeah, and I think it will. I think it will be like that because, I mean, who doesn't like Dak? Like, I'm talking
right.
Like, you see the interview, you hear the things that, see what he's doing off the field. I mean, even the harshest critics, even the guys that get on there and just bash him for everything, they all kind of qualify it with, I like Dak. I like him. He's good, and they do. And he's very easily, he's easily liked. But at the end of the day, you want your quarterback to take you to the Super Bowl. I mean, that's what you want. And so, yeah, I think that's a very good point. And yeah, Romo's hasn't made any plays, hasn't thrown any interceptions. So lately. So that I mean, it recently biased is a very, very good phrase for this, and I think that will happen. But no one cares about that right now because they want their quarterback who's making a lot of money to lead them to the Super Bowl. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Good point, though.
This kind of ties into my next question, and this one isn't necessarily about Dak, but it's about the quarterbacks around the league. It's do you think the quarterback? It's obviously the most important position, but do you think it's overvalued? And I say that in the sense that it's like GMs around the league are living in fear of not having one, but not all the GMs are the owners of the team, so they can't just do whatever they want. And if you don't have a quarterback, obviously you're not competitive, and that's why you see like Daniel Jones and these guys get these contracts when they probably shouldn't. I went over last week the quarterbacks drafted since 2015. The only one has won the Super Bowl. But in the same vein, 7 out of the last 9 Super Bowls had a quarterback on a rookie deal. So those rookie deals are really powerful, but you have to find the right guy. And it almost seems like you have to create a super team that manages the cap well, and then you can plug in a number of quarterbacks into. Instead of a quarterback elevating the team right away, the team elevates the quarterback until the quarterback gets to a point 3-4 years down the road where they can go off and do their own thing. Mm-hmm. Do you think maybe the team should churn every 4 years or so the quarterbacks more to manage that salary cap better?
It's getting there. It's getting there, Dylan. It really is. I think you're onto something. I think teams know that, and we're at that point where I think you are going to see some teams do that, and sometimes you do it. And you kind of back into it because if an injury or something like that, it wasn't your plan to just flip the quarterback every 4 years. Yeah, but I mean, it kind of happens like that. But yeah, I definitely think there's something to that. And I kind of have more of a theory on that. But you got any more questions? Or are you good?
No, that's it, man. Thank you. Have a good day.
Appreciate that. Good stuff from Dylan in Northport, Florida. And I was never good in science, okay, so forgive me on this. But I always think that stuff like this, like signing a quarterback or having a top quarterback, it's kind of like my analogy here is like it's like a tornado, okay? Because you got to have hot air and cold air, and it mixes together, and then you got this crazy tornado that you could just cause all kinds of destruction. And that's sort of what it's like with a quarterback, signing a quarterback, because you got to have one, right? You just said you don't have a quarterback, then you're screwed. But then you have a quarterback, what do you have to do? You have to pay him. You pay the quarterback. Now you don't have any money for anybody else. You see, all these teams that are in cap hell, all of these teams pretty much have a quarterback that they've signed like that, and they haven't won. They haven't won. Kansas City has problems too, but they've won, so you don't think of it the same. They got to get rid of Tyreek Hill. They got to get rid of guys. I mean, they have that stuff kind of has to happen. But it's like this, like which way is it? Because you mix it together. You got to have a quarterback. You got to pay him. Paying a quarterback hurts your team. Not having a quarterback hurts your team. Mix it together. It's a tornado. All right. How about that? Take that, Patrick Walker, for your science. I'm just kidding. All right. Jonathan from Southern California. Do you think Dak's future being uncertain will affect the draft? We more than likely to draft an offensive lineman to protect Dak if we just signed him to a 4-year contract. So, saying, what do you? Yeah, I mean, that goes back to what I was just saying about you got to figure this out. So yeah, you got to draft. If you're gonna keep Dak, you obviously got to protect him. If Dak's the house, better get a fence around him. But if you're not going to do that, then yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll affect the draft as far as taking one in the first or second round. There might be a quarterback that falls, and you'll be watching the draft or listening to the draft show, and they'll say, well, are the Cowboys interested? Because what about Dak's future? Should they be looking at this guy? But I think where that'll come into play is if there is a quarterback falling, I think Jerry will be interested in trades. That's where you get the most value. If somebody says, I'm moving up because I'm taking this guy, and we've seen it twice in the past where the Cowboys have traded their first-round pick for a team jumping up to get a quarterback. So I would think that would be the case. And if it's time to go get a quarterback, then I think the Cowboys will do that. But you also got to remember, they do have Trey Lance, at least for this year. They have Trey Lance. So if they wanted to develop a quarterback, they still kind of have him on the roster as well. All right, let's go to Jeff in North Carolina.
What's going on, Nick?
Hey, Jeff. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Outstanding.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks since I talked to you, man. Had a lot going on here lately.
Hope you're okay. Hope everything's fine.
Yeah, I had a little bump up in my work thing and got rear-ended, and so my back's been a little sore.
Did you get mad, or did you say? I mean, I can't imagine you getting upset. I mean,
no, I actually, this happened so fast, and I immediately got out to check on everybody involved, and
that's what I would expect you to do.
Yeah, and but I'm actually, I took this week off, so I had a little extra time. I was going to give you a call, but I was going to tell you, I listened to Thursday's show, and man, that was such a great show. It was just awesome. It was so good I had to go back and listen to it again because there were so many good calls, and I wrote down some.
I love that show. I mean, I said it immediately afterwards. I don't know what it was, the mix of everything. I thought it was a great show. I appreciate you saying that.
I did too.
Yeah.
And I had to jot down some points that some of the guys made. I love what Rob said about wondering if Jerry and them was mad because Dak or some of them wouldn't take team-friendly deals. I've always felt that Jerry and Stevens have a misconception that guys will play for the Cowboys for less money, and they got a job to do. I mean, and Dak's agent's trying to get the most money he can get for his client. That's his job. So I've always thought Jerry and them, I never understood why they think. I know they make money off the field, being in Dallas, but still, it's just. But it's like you said, other quarterbacks in the league and their agents look at that too, so it's kind of fraternity. Right. And also, I was thinking about some of the players. I've always felt sometimes we hold on to players too long, and like giving some of them second contracts or third contracts when they didn't need them, and that's kind of why we're in cap trouble. And so I was thinking, whatever happens going forward, whether once we get out of this cap trouble we're in, whether it be trades or whether I still hear they may try to trade Dak through the draft. I mean, I've heard so many things. My brain's just turned to mush. I've heard everybody's wondering what they're going to do. But going forward, if once we get our cap under control, what I'd like to see them do, you get elite players, then by all means you keep signing them long term. But our role players, maybe be a little bit more conservative about re-signing them. We do such a good job drafting that I feel like some of these guys, some of the role players, can be replaced, and before they get to their second. Some guys get to their second contract, and I mean, I know it's easier said than done, but I just think that way that would keep our cap healthier, and because we got guys just like we've been talking, they're going into the third year and never really got a chance to play, and they're probably going to have that chance this year, and I just think, maybe that's why sometimes we get. I mean, I know they like to keep their own players, but I just think the role players, maybe you keep drafting. Maybe draft a pass rusher late in the draft every other year, and same way with I don't know.
I think Jeff, I think you could make the case that that's kind of what they're doing. That's what they did this year. You know what I mean? They said, we would like to have Dorrance Armstrong, but certainly not at this price, or Dante Fowler. Right. So we're going to say it's your turn. It's your turn, Sam Williams.
I agree.
And if Sam Williams has a couple of good years, maybe he just goes in free agency after his fourth year, and you get another guy. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You could make the case they're kind of doing that. But
I feel like that's what they've always should have done with the running back position. I probably never would have given Zeke a second contract, but of course he held out and they did what they had to do. But I always think you draft a running back, run that guy for 5 years or whatever, and and then draft another one. So,
but that's the thing. Jeff, you have any other questions, or are we good?
No, I think that'll be it. But
Right.
I appreciate you taking my call. Great show.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Jeff. That to me is so easier said than done about the running back and run these guys into the ground, get another one. That's not Ezekiel Elliott running back Ohio State. That's Zeke. It's Zeke, okay? That he gave you everything. And that's where you can argue about the way Jerry Jones does a lot of things business, whatever you want to say. But Jerry is loyal, and he's a human being, and he knows that Zeke is a heartbeat of the team. And so it's really easy to just say, no, not giving running backs a year or third contract, whatever. But when it's time and you're looking at your football team and you're like, we got this going on and we can do this and we're pretty good on offense and we can run the ball and we just keep Zeke and we, easier said than done. I mean, when would you have done that? When would you have said, nah, we're not going with Zeke? Because it doesn't work that way because you have to make decisions before decisions. So it doesn't just go 5 years and you're like, Zeke's contract's done. Should we sign him or not? No, it starts in the third year. Now running backs are getting paid. Todd Gurley gets a deal. We're going to pay Zeke. You're going to start this clock and get him, a new one because he's only, 24, 25? Let's do it now, and then you got to pick up a fifth-year option. You got to make that decision in the fourth year. So we're seeing it with CD. Like nothing's sneaking up on CD's contract's not out, but like nothing's sneaking up on it. But it's just all these decisions that are going to be made. And so if you're going to say, we're going to let you go, I mean, it's kind of awkward because you're making that decision before he's actually gone. That's something you have to remember. You don't just say you run him for 5 years and he's done because by the 3.5 to 4 years, you're already making that decision that you're not going to do it. And that creates a weird dynamic of, oh, yeah, we love Zeke. Yeah, he's great. Well, why don't you give him a new deal? I don't know if any of that makes sense, but I'm just saying it's a lot harder than it sounds to just not keep the players because you're trying to keep the team intact and you're trying to do the best you can, and you got to make these decisions, and it's not always easy to do it that way. So, all right, hope that made sense at all. Bruce in Houston, next call.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Bruce.
Man. I hadn't been able to get on since I heard I was a first-teamer there. Where do I pick up my trophy?
Yeah, well, this is where you pick it up. You get a hold of Dylan's wife, and you say, where did you get your deal? I need another one. Change my name to this and send it here. No, I'm
all right.
There's a beautiful trophy, by the way, from Dylan, Florida. It was pretty awesome.
Was it? That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
But we're going to just do measly old T-shirts. Sorry.
Sure. Well, I mean, I couldn't get on. I tried to get on. You're like Taylor Swift. I feel like one of the Swifties. I just can't get on. You're so stinking popular.
Well, there's a first.
Chris told me, he said, be sure and tell that to Nick.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to call this show, this is Nick's version. How about that?
There you go. You've been called a lot of things, but never a Swiftie.
Yeah. This is Nick's version of a podcast.
That's actually a compliment. But anyway, just like Dylan
she's the
was
best,
saying,
by the way. She's the best. I'm not a fan of the music so much, but she's outstanding.
Me neither,
She's outstanding. I got daughters, and they love her, and she's outstanding, and she embraces the role model that she is, and I have a lot of respect for her and how she lifted the Chiefs to a Super Bowl. I mean, amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. My daughter's 30 and she likes her too. But yeah, I don't know about that lifting the Chiefs to the Super Bowl there.
It did something.
Mahomes is pretty good. Yeah. No, you're right. Like Dylan said, and the last caller mentioned, the hardest thing I've heard, I think Bill Parcells said, it's hard to. Well, it's not hard, but it's the timing. When to let a player go a year early than a year late.
Yeah.
Like with DeMarcus Ware, that was tough. And then, he went on and won a Super Bowl. But 9 times out of 10, that don't usually happen. We'll see with Tyron Smith if it works out that way with the Jets. But you do have to move on running back. I'm sorry. Zeke just held, and you talked about Jerry Jones being loyal, but loyal to a fault almost. Wouldn't you agree, Nick?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it hurt him in the 90s. It hurt him in the 90s. He paid players for what they had done and not so much what they projected to do and be. And that's who he is. I mean, as a person, that's who he is. I mean,
No, of course.
So
and that's why the players still love him. I mean, even when they retire, they come around him.
Yeah.
But Ezekiel, the running back position in particular, there's not going to be another Emmitt Smith that runs 10, 12 years. You're just not going to see it.
Right.
Linebacker, you can throw that in position as well. It seems like every 3 or 4 years you need to be drafting one. It's just, even if Ezekiel was high talent, 4th pick in the draft, but that's what Dallas is going to have to do. And this year, if they could double dip on offensive linemen, I'd like to see them do it, but I think they're probably going to have to use their 2nd round pick to get a stud running back because that's what we need. I'd like to see Ezekiel Elliott come for the league minimum. Heck, we're paying him $6 million in dead money. We might as well get some usage out of him, But and as far as Dak goes, you're right. All the teams want a cheap quarterback and have an awesome team around him, like someone said, that lifts up the quarterback instead of the quarterback lift up the team. And so with Dak, and you're right, I've said it many times myself, I like Dak, but we want a Super Bowl. I was spoiled by Roger Staubach and Troy Aikman, and so that's what we want. And if we don't get that, hey, we're quickly kick him to the curb.
Right.
Trey Lance, we don't know what he's going to do, but we need to find out because you can get him on that cheap. He's just as young as some of the rookie quarterbacks that are going to be in the draft. So, and he's been in the league 2 or 3 years, so you got a little jump on him there. I don't know what they see in him. I don't know if you've seen him play, but we're going to find out in the preseason. And if they don't, and Dak falls out and takes him to the Super Bowl or championship game, well, then he's going to cost $70 million a year. That's what it's going to cost. But if he don't, then Dallas can reset and move on. They'll get a 3rd round compensatory pick, unless they make a crazy trade, which I don't think is going to happen. But anyway, good show, Nick.
All right.
Have a good one, buddy.
Thank
Bye.
you, Bruce. Appreciate that. The interesting – hold on, get some water here. I was going to say an interesting point about Trey Lance is that you don't have him under contract for very long because they're not going to do the 5th-year option on him. I think his price tag goes up next year. So – this is his 4th year, so this is really it for him. You got to figure out on him this year. So it's not like you've got him in the fold for a few years. He's only on their contract for 1 more year. All right, Rob in Vegas.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Rob. How you doing? Rob, what's up?
I agree with Dylan about Romo. I think all the fans loved Romo because we looked at him like he's good enough, but the team was never good enough. And then by the time the team got better, his body just broke down. And, we forget that they drafted Zeke to play with Romo. That would have been something.
Right.
And what worries me about, with Dak now is, if he goes in last year of his deal, is he going to ball out? Because we've talked about this in the past. What makes Dak a really good quarterback is when he would run and throw. So I don't know. Is he going to say to himself, I don't know if I'm going to try to get that first down, because if I get injured now, who's going to pay me? So I don't know if that goes into an athlete's head. Unfortunately, I never been in that position where I'm making $50 million, So I don't know if that would factor, but I would hate to even think about that when I see him on 3rd and 5 run out, instead of maybe taking on the defensive back, he slides or runs out of bounds, I'd be like, come on. So I think this no contract thing is going to be an issue all year because of stuff like that.
Yeah. No.
And
go ahead.
I think it's great that Dylan got that trophy. I was saying, we should do we should send in pictures, for the all-story line team like they do on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Route from Vegas, Staten Island, New York, something like that, and then we'll send them to you, and somehow you put them up on the wall or something. That would be funny.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know about, we have to share. It's a shared space here. But one thing we are going to do is I've been saying it for a little while, but we are gonna add a video element here where I want some of you guys to send in your question from a video, 15, 20, 30 seconds, whatever, and we'll put it up here on the screen, and then we'll be able to kind of see that. And then you can kind of put a face to the name and voice a little bit. So that's another thing. You got to keep churning this thing. And so that's what we're looking at next year, or this year actually. So
yeah, I think that'd be cool.
So, all right, Rob, good stuff.
Okay.
Anything else? You good?
No, I'm good. All
right.
It was hard to get in, but that's a good.
You made
that's
it.
a good deal.
You made it
That's
right
a good
here.
deal.
You made it right here in the ninth
Right.
inning. All right. Speaking
All right.
of, see you later. Speaking of the ninth, we'll go. This is our ninth callers, our last one of the day. Michael in Colton, California. Michael, what's up?
What's going on, Nick? Happy Easter to everybody. I'll make it real quick. But, hey, I think that, I think that for the last couple of years, there's been such a big emphasis on, first round, we got to take an O-lineman, our offensive line, and I know offensive line is very important, but I think we should look more into building this defense, you know what I mean? We get gashed up a lot in the middle, and I just think that our focus needs to be on defense. I think I'm pretty excited to see what these youngsters can do. Excuse me, I say youngsters, but the younger guys, what they can do. I think TJ Bass. I think he's going to be pretty solid.
Right.
Austin Richards. You know what I mean? I'm pretty curious to see what they're going to do, and I just don't see why there's such we need a first round offensive line pick. I think it's time we start building up that defense. And or even we could even trade down and maybe pick up a Edgerrin Cooper or. I'm not sure about Peyton Wilson, just because of the whole injury history. I'm not trying to do the LVE thing again. Leighton Vander Esch was great, man. His rookie year, man, that dude is bad, and he still is. That dude's a good ball player, but just, injuries, I wouldn't want to go down that road, But maybe we could even trade back and recoup that fourth-round pick or even Jeremiah Trotter. Man, I think that dude is solid right there, but
yeah.
Again, happy Easter to everybody, and shout out to the whole Cowboys Nation, and thank you for taking my call. You have a great day.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate that. I when you're picking 24th, and not only 24th in the first round, but you're picking in that range in the second and the third. I mean, you just got to get good players. I mean, so if it ends up being a defensive guy, there's a reason that there's a way he can help. There's a way that the edge rusher can help. If it's a defensive tackle, he can certainly help. If it's a linebacker, if it's a corner, he can probably help, down the road a little bit too. So if it's offense, if it's a center, you're starting. If it's a guard, then Tyler Smith's playing tackle. If it's a tackle, Tyler Smith's playing guard, and you're starting. If it's a running back, you're starting. So, I mean, you can make a case for just about anything. So, even a receiver, if there was some awesome CeeDee Lamb type of guy that's falling to you, you can make a case for it. Brandon Cooks won't be here forever. So, and CeeDee, some of the great offenses have two really good receivers. So you can make a case for everything. My point is, if he's worthy of the spot that you're taking, go for it, because I guarantee he can help. And that's what this team needs. They need guys that can help. All right, sounds good. We'll see you on Thursday on Cowboys Storyline. So for Chris Beam, I'm Nick Eatman. We'll see you then. See ya.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?